There are corners of Teesside where the shadows don't just fall, they linger. Where the past doesn't rest, it follows you. Where unseen footsteps echo in empty corridors, and something unseen brushes past without warning. Tonight, we explore the 5 most haunted locations in Teesside, places locals quietly warn visitors to never visit after dark. Teesside's history is deep, shaped by industry, war, religion, and centuries of settlement. Beneath the surface of its everyday streets lie stories of tragedy, lingering belief, and unexplained events. Some hauntings are whispered in local pubs, others detailed by decades of eyewitness reports. Tonight, we start at the edge of Teesside's uncanny legacy and work our way to its darkest heart, the place locals claim is the most chilling of all. At number 5 stands Preston Hall Park, an 18th century mansion with grand Victorian bones and a shadowed reputation. Built as a country estate in the early 19th century, it now serves as a museum surrounded by 100 acres of parkland, but some say the halls still echo with more than footsteps of visitors. Local reports speak of a grey lady wandering the halls late at night. This is said by some to be the ghost of a maid who was driven mad by her love for a member of the family, and who ended up taking her own life. She has been seen on multiple occasions near the main entrance and driveway. Others recall glimpses of a highwayman on horseback near the old carriage paths, his form emerging like mist before fading. And there are tales of a lady walking her dog through the wine cellar before disappearing through a solid wall. Paranormal investigators note sudden temperature drops and unexplained noises in rooms that should be empty. Today, the grounds and museum are popular with visitors, but many locals still say they can feel uneasy when walking there due to a feeling of being watched. At Preston Hall, the hauntings feel like an invitation to the unknown, subtle, almost polite, until the lights go down. Number 4, the Green Dragon Pub, a 3-storey Grade 2 listed building on Finkel Street in Stockton. It can be reached by walking through a cobbled passage. Said to have been built in 1666, it has been restored over the years, however, it sadly now lies empty and unused. Patrons and staff alike often reported a presence in the cellar. Hands brushing against them when no one else is around, sudden chills and objects moving on their own. Some of the staff over the years have claimed to have seen the ghost of the first landlord in the cellar, with one noted as saying they refused to go back down there. Another bartender recalls glasses flying from the bar, only to be found perfectly intact a few minutes later, untouched by anyone. Sadly, the Green Dragon closed its doors for good in 2023. The lower half is boarded up, however. Several locals have told of seeing shadowy figures moving in the windows above that seem to fade away when looked at. The Green Dragon may have seemed like a normal pub by day, but locals knew to leave the cellar alone after dark. For the moment, whilst it's empty, whatever souls may still linger in the Green Dragon, do so in peace. Number 2 reaches across both crafted walls and rugged landscape, Ormesby Hall and the looming silhouette of Roseberry Topping. These adjacent legends remind us that hauntings aren't bound by bricks alone. Ormesby Hall is known for its haunting Grey Lady. A woman seen gliding through hallways, her face pale, her expression unreadable. Some claim she passes through walls, disappearing as silently as she arrived. Her story is often tied to the Pennyman family, who owned the estate for nearly 400 years. Her presence is most often reported in the winter months, when barren trees and long shadows make the old hall appear even more isolated and eerie. From corridors we move to the open wilds, but nature here holds its own ghosts. Roseberry Topping, a distinctive hill overlooking the region, has its own claims of echoing voices and sounds never tied to any hiker or animal. The hill was known as Ormesby, Odin's Berg Hill in the Domesday Book, suggesting Norse, pre-Christian or spiritual significance. The 18th century folly known as Rosebery's Folly, or Summer House on the hill, adds to the atmospheric, sometimes moody reputation of the site. The landscape here is isolated, dramatic and sometimes harsh, and the hill has long been considered a place where spirits roam, often associated with the high religiosity of past eras. Locals tell of faint voices on silent nights, the tapping of pickaxes where no mine exists, and an uneasy sensation that passes through the mist like the breath of those long gone. This place is steeped in folklore. A prominent legend tells of a young prince who was prophesied to die by falling from the peak. His mother, seeking to protect him, hid him on the hill, but he perished there regardless. At Ormesby Hall, you wonder if time stands still. And on Roseberry Topping, you feel as though something from the old earth itself stirs when the fog rolls in. At number 3, we step onto Hartlepool Headland, to a building that has terrified staff, unsettled visitors, and built a reputation as one of the most haunted pubs in the region. The Cosmopolitan Hotel. Situated just a stone's throw from St. Hilda's Church, the Cosmopolitan stands in an area layered with religious history stretching back to the 7th century. The Headland was once home to a monastery, later raided by Vikings. Over centuries, buildings rose and fell, but beneath today's pub lies something older. The hauntings were first formally recorded in 1972. During cellar renovations, the landlord reportedly went downstairs and returned moments later, visibly shaken. Workers soon refused to continue. They described an overwhelming sense of fear, an oppressive atmosphere so intense that they abandoned the project altogether. From that point on, activity escalated. Staff began reporting loud, unexplained banging from the cellar, heavy thuds echoing through stone walls, the sound of chairs and tables dragging across floors long after closing time, glasses tipping over on the bar when no one was near them. And then there were the physical encounters. Employees described feeling someone brush past them in tight corridors, only to turn and find empty space. Others claimed they felt gripped briefly, as if caught in a vice-like hold, before the sensation vanished completely. But perhaps most unsettling are the apparitions. Over the years, multiple witnesses have described seeing a little boy sitting quietly at the top of the cellar steps, a woman holding a baby, standing motionless before fading away, and most frequently, a nun. The nun is believed by some to be connected to the Headland's monastic past. Local law suggests that tunnels once ran beneath the pub, leading toward the old monastery grounds near St. Hilda's Church. During structural work, bricked-up passages were reportedly discovered in the cellar, sealed corridors leading in the direction of the church. Legend claims that during Viking raids, a nun attempted to hide within these tunnels and never emerged. Whether that story is historical fact or centuries-old folklore is unclear. What is clear is that staff continue to report shadow figures in peripheral vision, cold spots in otherwise warm rooms, and lights flickering without electrical explanation. One particularly strange account tells of a framed photograph of a deceased regular customer being found placed back in the exact spot he used to sit, despite no one admitting to moving it. Paranormal investigators who have visited the site have described sudden temperature drops and overwhelming feelings of being watched, especially near the cellar entrance. The Cosmopolitan is not an abandoned ruin. It is active, open, social, full of life. And yet, beneath the laughter and clinking glasses, something else may still linger in the shadows of the headland. Some buildings hold history, others hold on to it. And now, the #1 most haunted place in all of Teesside that may come as a surprise. A town with roots stretching back over 1,000 years, recorded in the Domesday Book of 1086 as an established settlement long before most nearby communities existed. But it is not the age itself that unsettles people. It's what lingers beneath that history. Thornaby's story begins in medieval times, with a church recorded at the time of the Domesday Survey, an indication that life here predates even the Norman conquest. Over centuries, Thornaby grew from a rural village to a centre of industry and aviation, collecting layers of history along the way. The Church of St. Peter ad Vincula, dating back to the 12th century, stands as a testament to that long history, and some say the very stones seem to hold echoes of the past. But it was the 20th century that gave Thornaby its most enduring and eerie legacy. RAF Thornaby, a strategically significant Royal Air Force station during World War II. Here, crews within the Coastal Command worked to protect maritime routes and help pioneer life-saving air-sea rescue techniques. Many young men trained and served here, and not all came home. Today, locals tell of a ghostly airman figure, sometimes seen walking near the edges of the former airfield grounds at dusk, dressed in a uniform long out of use. Witnesses describe a presence accompanied by subtle electrical disturbances, lights flickering, radios buzzing briefly, a feeling that someone who belonged to that era still watches over the fields he once walked. This figure, whispered among paranormal enthusiasts as Pilot Pete, is not just a silhouette, but an atmospheric presence reported by people who have walked isolated paths near the old airfield. The Golden Eagle Hotel. Once a local landmark, now slated for demolition, it has a reputation that long predates its decay. Guests reported strange noises in the night, lights switching on and off when no one was present, and at least one tale of a lady walking through a wall, a silhouette vanishing into thin air. Urban explorers who ventured inside before demolition began allege they heard very definite footsteps in rooms where no one should have been, accompanied by a heavy, oppressive atmosphere that made them feel nauseous and uneasy until they left. Thornaby Snooker Centre is a well-used venue in Thornaby, but it too carries a haunting legacy. Long before the locals played snooker here, the building was the officers' mess for pilots stationed at Thornaby Aerodrome during the war, and some claim that at least one airman still remains here. The spirit of a pilot is said to wander the halls, though some of those who claim to have spotted him say he doesn't feel threatening or dangerous. Over the road at the Oddfellows pub, said to have been built in the 1800s, locals have mentioned unexplained footsteps near closed doors and a sensation of being watched from empty corners. Former staff have told of whispers, strange lights and moving shadows in the cellar, making them reluctant to go down there. These accounts aren't official records, but they reflect what many locals have whispered for years. Walk deeper into the woods near the old airfield, and you'll find a dilapidated pillbox or bunker left over from the war. A concrete reminder of Thornaby's frontline role in Britain's defence. Visitors here have reported seeing shadows moving among the trees, fleeting figures at the corner of their vision, something that seems to watch from the darkness before disappearing. Between Thornaby and nearby Acklam lies another haunting chapter, the abandoned medieval village of Stainsby. Once a settlement recorded in the Domesday Survey and thriving through the Middle Ages, Stainsby was gradually deserted by the 18th century due to economic changes, shifts in farming patterns, and the devastating impact of plague outbreaks which was said to have severely decimated the population. Today, only grassy mounds and earthworks remain, the skeletal outline of houses, trackways, and fields. There are no official haunting records here, but locals say the atmosphere is unlike anywhere else after dark. A heavy, oppressive silence, shadows that seem to flicker just beyond sight, and a persistent feeling of being watched. All sensations reported by those who have walked the fields after sunset. Thornaby-on-Tees is not just haunted by ghosts of the unseen, it's haunted by its history. From ancient church bells once heard over fields recorded in the Domesday Book, to the ghosts of wartime airmen and local buildings that seem to breathe with the past, this place's legacy is carved into the very land. Some believe the spirits here are echoes of lives once lived. Others think the weight of memory itself casts shadows that never quite fade. But in Thornaby, the hauntings are not just told, they are felt. From haunted pub cellars to abandoned medieval villages, from the airfields where pilots once trained to streets and buildings that seem to hold a presence long after their walls were built, Teesside's shadows run deep. These are places where history, tragedy, and local memory converge, where the past is not silent, but whispers just beyond the corner of your eye. Whether you believe in spirits or simply the weight of time and memory, the stories and sensations here are chilling enough to make you think twice before wandering these streets after dark. Which haunt unsettled you most? Did any story make the hair on your neck stand on end? Comment below, and if you want more chilling countdowns from across the UK, subscribe to Ranked and Rated and join us as we explore the dark corners of history and legend. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. See you in a bit.